Hello again, YouTube! I am here with my wife. I'm Dr. Kendo, and my wife is...
Mrs.Kendo.
And we have this mysterious figure that is in Scribblenauts Unlimited. This is actually something that, you know, we have our anniversary coming up, our anniversary trip. So, you know, our anniversary was September 1st for when we got married. We've been married for 3 years, but our trip is coming up this weekend.
Yes.
So as we're recording this, we're not yet on our trip, but we're going to be gone when the usual Scribblenauts uploads. So I figured kind of a quick episode that is long overdue, right? Is
so long.
Creating my other dog with Mrs. K.
Surprise!
So we have another dog, and we've had him actually for about a year now, and his name is Twoey. Because we already have introduced our other dog several times throughout the channel here on Dr. Kendo is Apple, you know, so Twoey is Apple too, right?
Yes, like the computer.
So yes, we're showing sort of the things on screen that were used to create him. He's a dachshund as the source object, and we will talk about what Twoey in real life actually is, but just in Scribblenauts for those purposes, you know, we use like the Chihuahua head, we use the dachshund's, I think that was his legs for both actually front and back legs actually were the dachshund. So then just little pieces of hair, you know, you just type in hair and you got the little fluffs around his mouth, on his chest, on his tail, and all of that goodness. But I think I'm gonna leave it to Mrs. K to kind of describe how did we get Twoey, you know, a second dog, and what he is maybe.
So last summer, I moved away from living with Dr. Kendo because I got an internship in my hometown. And part of what I did at this internship, I worked for the planning department, and the planning department had a new Facebook page, and so we would be posting about, like, we were working on a transportation plan, and so I was liking things around town that some of the other departments had liked, and so I liked this one shelter, and then I saw his picture, and his name was Forrest, like Forrest Gump, and he was so cute. He kind of looked like Apple, but like a tiny apple, and I really like dogs that are kind of like blackish, and he's kind of gray, but you know, he was actually darker then, but kind of like black dogs that are really furry. And so he had parvo, which is a really bad disease that dogs can really easily die from. So he was in a hospital basically for a really long time. And then when he came out, they needed people to go play with him because he was still in quarantine and he was really bored. And so I called the shelter to volunteer to help take care of him. And then I really wanted to adopt him. So I tried to convince my parents to adopt him because my mom wanted a dog and my dad kept saying no. And then I called Dr. Kendo and tried to convince him to let me adopt him. And he was not convinced at first, but then eventually he was at least convinced enough for me to do it.
Well, I had said, you know, I have a hard enough time working, doing my YouTube channel and taking care of Apple, and then trying to make sure that our relationship is good and all of that stuff in my life. And then, you know, I said, okay, well, how about the kicker is, can he, you know, be good with Apple? Can they interact? Can they play? Will it be a good relationship? And so they seemingly, you know, were fine and everything, and she sent me some videos and she was away from me, and now we have Twoey, and he's like a crazy mix of things because he's actually, as small as he has got Old English sheepdog in him.
Yes, so we DNA tested him, and his mom kind of looked like a schnauzer with a really fat head, and her whole face was furry, and his mom was half Old English sheepdog, and then he's mixed with other things that are smaller, like his dad was part toy fox terrier, and then he's part Chihuahua, part Affenpinscher, part miniature poodle, part Chinese crested, lots of things. And when we created him, we made his ears stand up because the floppy down ears were just way too long and not the right shape. So his ears don't stand up all the time, but they do sometimes stand up when he's really excited about getting a treat or when he is running. And his ears are kind of triangular shaped, even though they flop down, because toy fox terriers are just one of the things he's mixed with, have really large pointy ears that stand up. So since he's not a pure toy fox terrier, his ears don't quite stand up, but he can make them stand up when he's excited. So just imagine his creation with those pointy standing up ears like folded over in the front, and that would be what he looks like. Well,
you're gonna see some pictures and some video here on screen of Twoey.
If you're wondering why we made his ears like that, that's why. It's because with the pointy ears standing up, it looks more like him than if we made the very large droopy ears and that Scribblenauts has.
But anyway, again, just since we're on our, you know, kind of vacation or our little trip for our anniversary, I didn't want to leave you guys without any episode, but this is sort of just a quick way that we could get something out for the week, and I will resume, of course, with your most popular or most requested items coming up next week on Sunday, so please be looking out for that. And I'm gonna start doing live streams here on the channel or on my Twitch channel. I'm kind of experimenting with both platforms, but that will be coming every Monday evening around 7 or 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you've been having a blast at some of the live streams that I've done recently, please check them out then. I'm gonna try to start getting into that. Anyway, Mrs. Kendo, I want to thank you so much, not only for the privilege and pleasure of being your husband, but also for commentating here to finally introduce our other dog into the mix. He was in the other episode of Scribble Ventures, you know, the Thanksgiving
He was
short.
like an Easter egg.
Yeah, he was just like in there for a little bit, you know, and I even said my dogs rather than dog, you know, singular. So like he was in this Scribble Ventures for Thanksgiving, the short that I did back then. But now we can finally have him introduced to the world. The Kendo family is one dog bigger. But,
Last year.
yeah. Well, Mrs. Kendo, you want to sign off here?
Bye.
And thanks for viewing. Wrongdoers there like a spectacle, so you can be the viewer and
down the road of twist.